Now, fellow adventurers, stay a while and listen. I'll teach you how to create a character in D&D 5th edition.
Sorry about that. It's your GM Shane. Yep, I'm going to teach you how to create a character in D&D today, using D&D Beyond. So let's go. So after you've created your account in D&D Beyond, you will have this character section up here, and once you're in, you just click on the create character option right up here, and you'll be taken to the screen. Now I'm going to be taking you through step by step, so let's go with standard. Okay, so here we are. Gonna leave it as is for now. We will come up with a suitable name once we know more about our young adventurer. So for sources, these are all the contents that the game, well, that D&D Beyond will supply you with. So usually for this, I'll turn everything on just to make things better. Partnered content, that's up to you. I don't really use this stuff, so leave it off. Dice rolling, keep it on. Usually just for these, you want to turn them on. They just give you a bit more customization for your character. For advancement type, I use milestone. I find this a bit better in my game and less taxing as a DM having to calculate XP. Where milestone, I generally know where and how far my characters need to be in the story to be a certain level, so we'll leave it on milestone. Hit point type, if you're a beginner, probably leave this on fixed, but most DMs and GMs probably prefer if you roll manual. It makes leveling up a bit better, and just confirm it. These, leave them on. Same with all this other stuff. Encumbrance, yeah, I would use it. It just determines how much your characters can carry and if they're burdened by such. I do use ignore coin weights because this, especially if your characters are carrying a lot, but under certain circumstances you might want to impose a penalty. So let's say they find a dragon horde and then you want them to carry all the loot out. This is all fine. Character privacy, this is up to you, whether they're only in the campaign, if anyone can view them, or only you can view them. So for this, I'm just going to set it to private. We don't really, no, we can set it to public so you guys can see it as well. So here we have all the different races. This will depend very much on your books that you own on D&D Beyond. We'll turn off legacy content. We don't really need to see the old versions of creatures. So you can see here I have a bunch of different races. Dragonborn, dwarf, elves, gnomes, half orcs, humans, so forth. You can see it's quite an extensive list, but I think for this we'll go with human, just a basic human, nothing special. So then you'll come to a screen. You'll see here under racial traits, this is the bonus that humans get. Determined by your race, you'll get different types of racial attributes. So we'll get an ability score. All our ability scores increase by 1, which is pretty nice, and we get to choose an extra language. So for this, let's go with you can choose anything. I'll go with goblin. Now we can pick our class for our young adventurer. If you turn on the critical role content, you will get the blood hunter, but otherwise you'll get all the other basic classes here. Let's go with the barbarian. A human barbarian sounds good. So once you click on that, you'll be able to see exactly what the barbarian gets. His hit dice are d12s, which is really nice, gives you a lot of health, as well as bonuses specific to this class. We can see if we click on another class, let's say the cleric, you'll see we get different things, d8 for a hit die, and all these special things here. But for this, we'll take a barbarian. We'll add the class, and most adventures will start at level 1. But if your DM does allow it, you can choose whatever he allows us the starting class here. And by that, you'll see that if we say level 10, you'll get a bunch of level 10 skills. But for this, we're starting at level 1. Here we are, you'll see, it will explain to you your hit points. So at level 1, you'll always have your full hit die, which is 12. Plus your constitution modifier, and when you reach level 2 it'll be 12 plus 1d12 plus your constitution modifier, and so forth. So now we get to choose proficiencies. So these are skills or things that make us better. For Barbarian, we probably want to be athletic, so that will give us a bonus to athletics. Maybe because we're out in the wilds most of the time, survival is probably a good one to take. So under rage, you can see here that this is exactly what rage does. Once on your turn, you can enter rage as a bonus action, and it gives you a bunch of extra stats, so make sure to read this properly. So you see you'll get advantage of strength checks and strength saving throws, and resistance to most physical damage. So Barbarian pretty good. Unarmored defense means you don't really need to wear armor as a Barbarian. Once we're happy with our choice, we can then go to abilities. So this is where you want to talk with your DM as well. They often will determine how your ability scores are distributed amongst your characters. So standard array gives you can see here points for each one for a total, usually shared between all of them. So yeah, you can just go in and select how much you want for each character stat. It's not really that great, but it's for very basics or beginner friendly games. Point buy is another one that gives you a total, so you get 27 points to distribute among here. So you'll see it goes down, and if you put 15 strengths, it takes that away, so forth, so forth. But more experienced, or if your DM deems it, most people will do rolls. So then you can either use the in-game rolls. So you can see we get some nice dice over here that'll tell us our roll, and then we can say, okay, cool, we got a 14. We'll put that into dexterity, and we could go through and do each one. I don't trust these dice, to be honest. I would prefer to roll physical dice, but if you don't have access, these do well. Just remember that you roll 4 d6s, and the lowest roll you take away. So you can see we got 6, 5, and 3, so there's 9 plus 5 is 14 minus 3. So yeah, we could do all of that. So let's just give our guy some stats. Oh, pretty good rolls for being how terrible it usually is. Okay, so pretty high rolls. So we'll put into strength, into constitution. It's just a bit stupid. We'll make his intelligence quite low, charisma quite high. Quite the charming barbarian. But the rolls were pretty good, so let's go. Okay, cool. So now we know a bit more about our adventurer. He's a human barbarian that's not that smart, but he's great in every other aspect. So let's give him a good name. Let's call him Bartholomew Fiddles. Then we can click on the portrait, and D&D Beyond has a lot of character portraits to choose from. If you want, you can upload your own artwork. It gives you some recommendations there. So next up is your character background. Now this determines your character's origins, or where they spent their early life. You'll see you get a bunch of different options, and if you click on each one, they will give you a bit of a background as well as different skill proficiencies that you'll get with it. So for our barbarian, let's make him gladiator. So you see he gets a bit of extra skill proficiencies in acrobatics and performance, and you get to choose, depending on your background, you may get different things from different languages or skills. This one gives us musical instruments. Let's give him bagpipes. So then you can see here it gives you a bit of background features. Certain ones, especially if you are a bit more like a courtier or a criminal, it gives you access to certain crime syndicates or special things to your background specifically. So then we can go on to suggested characteristics. These are things that flesh out your character a bit more. Usually your DM will help you with this. They may give you questions that you want to answer for your character, but for here you can just go through and choose what you feel is relevant for your character. So let's see, it says choose 2, you can choose more, whatever. This one's pretty good. I love a good insult. The Bartholomew doesn't mind. Let's go. He's a hopeless romantic as well. We can go through each one and choose ideals, and we'll skip over that for now for the rest of them. But usually these help you flesh out your character. Like you see, he was a hopeless romantic there, and he could be a sucker for a pretty face. So easy enough. Now in here we can go ahead and choose how our character is perceived, his alignment, how good he is, evil he is, how non-caring he is. So we'll make him chaotic neutral. So you see that I'll give you a brief explanation of what type of alignment that is, and then you can go in and add your faith if you want your character to have any sort of religion. I'd recommend looking up the religions to your world that your DM has explained for you. You could choose lifestyle, how he chose to live, or how your character chooses to conduct themselves on an everyday. So for him being a barbarian, he's probably on the poorer end, so let's go with that. Now you can go in and add your characteristics here. Let's say he has a mohawk, he has pale white skin, black eyes, he is 165 centimeters. Obviously you can convert it to whatever you want. Here it uses pounds, but I don't know what pounds are. So we'll just say he is 80 kilograms at the age of 22. He is a male. And then you can see that the stuff we added earlier gets added into the personal traits. And then you can go in and add extra things like if he was part of an arena, you can add him to the organizations. If he has friends or allies like other gladiators, you can add them here. Same with enemies. Backstory is more of a personal thing, so you'd write that out yourself, and other is just extra additional notes. You don't need to worry that much about it. So then we go to equipment. Now equipment is great, so you can either choose to add more gold that you can use to buy stuff from merchants. I would recommend using the player handbook and going to the equipment section, because then it lists all the equipment you can buy and how much it each costs. But for now, we'll take equipment as it saves us a bit of a heartache. Take whatever weapons you want here. If you click any weapons, you'll get to choose. But for now, just take a great axe and any simple weapon. So maybe a spear. Yeah, that makes sense. Nah, not a spear. Let's go with something a bit better. A mace. A mace works. Then you'll see you'll get additional things which you can toggle on or off. But it usually helps to have this on because you'll get a bunch of extra things like bedrolls, which makes living life out in the adventurer's world a bit easier. So then you get additional starting equipment depending on your background. It's a bit extra to flesh out your character. Go with an inexpensive but unusual weapon. Maybe he was gifted a really nice dagger, and he got given a lock of hair by a pretty lady. So we'll add his starting equipment, and from there we want to equip what he uses. So we'll use his great axe and the backpack. So now you can see he carries up to 83 pounds of stuff. Now do bear in mind, now that we've created our human barbarian, there is an additional step which I, as a very bad GM, found out much later after 2 campaigns, that under the equipment tab is your starting wealth by class. Now you can see here we've got 2d4 times 10 gold for the barbarian. So what we'll do is we'll come back to here and we roll 2d4 and we get 20 gold. So we can go into our inventory here and add 20 gold, and that determines our starting wealth. Now I didn't read, and that's why I skipped out on this whole section for my first 2 campaigns. But remember to take a look here and obviously check in with your DM first to make sure this is okay. But this should be the start for how your character handles themselves. So once you're brought here, you get to see your finished character. Look at that. He has 15 armor class for wearing no armor because of the dexterity bonus and the unarmored bonus. That's all there. All your little stats are stored everywhere, so you can always check and click on them and they give you everything you need. It makes it much easier for new players to get in. So yeah, check it out. You won't break anything, or if you do, you can try to reset it. All your little skills and abilities have little checks. So if I've raged, click on rage, and now I've only got 1 rage left for the day. You've got your long and short rest up in the top here, inspiration, passive skills over here. All your info is kept up here. If you were a spellcaster, you would have spells up here. I hope that helps in creating your first character. Bartholomew will be available to find, and if you want to use him in your own campaign, you can go ahead. I will probably upload some character artwork for him as well. But I hope you enjoy, and if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below, and please subscribe as it does help me out. Happy adventuring.